Hello, I'm Vinny and I like travelling. I'm trying to get to 100 countries. This is country 81. This is the Gambia. Hello, check one, check two, here we go. Right, so I am in the Gambia, in the most touristy part of the Gambia. I haven't been here for long. And already it's having quite a devastating effect on my human psyche. As you may well hear in the background, there's some drumming and African beats, which usually I'd be really happy about, and I am in many ways, but I'm going through a complete mind fuck that I can't quite deal with. Basically, I'm going to try and explain this the best I can. I feel a bit like I was on an African adventure. I was on a boat, having just spent a few days in a village in the middle of nowhere, and then I was on a minibus with a goat, and then I was plunked into a life of a man called Dave the accountant, who occasionally goes on holidays to crazy places and never leaves his resort, but when he does, he comes to restaurants like this because he loves a bit of the African drumming. That's basically what's happening. Shit description, but what I'm saying is I've gone from real Africa to organised fun for tourists' sake Africa, and I'm not comfortable with it one bit. I was in a restaurant, it was full of white people, and they're all nice, they're all English, and they're all like retired people that want a bit of guaranteed winter sun, and who can bloody blame them? You know, it's just knocked into February now, and this country, an ex-British country, independent for the best part of 40-something years, has, it's fine. But it's not really what I wanted because it's kind of boring. I don't want to talk to Dave the accountant, and I don't want to talk to Steve, the retired locksmith, and I don't want to talk to Barbara from Liverpool, who really likes the weather here and aren't people friendly. But no, I don't culturally know fucking anything about this place. I get it, but I don't like it. I suppose the best way to describe it for anyone from North America is imagine you were travelling across the arsehole end of Mexico and all of a sudden you stumbled across Cancun. Well, that's what's happened here. And for anyone that's slightly more familiar with the Spanish coast, imagine you're in, I don't know, Tarragona, and you went to a couple of sleepy little villages, and the next thing you know, you're on the Costa del Sol. You know what I'm saying? It's weird, and I don't like it. And the African drummers, you hear me, aren't doing it just because they want to wish in the dreams of their elders. They're doing it for money, which is cool. And now think about that. I'm slagging off someone that's managed to make money out of their cultural heritage, and that's quite healthy. And that's where this whole travel tourism thing gets a bit complicated, because frankly, I'm happy that there's a band on there, and also I'm happy that Dave the accountant is listening to them, because it's much better he's doing that than sitting in, no offence, but a Margate hotel wondering why it's fucking freezing. So actually, I'm glad that he's here, and I'm glad that his wife's here, and I'm glad they've had a nice little meal and contributed to the local economy, and I'm glad that the drummers are on stage, and I'm glad all of this exists, and I think the whole thing is healthy. And I don't want to sound like a pompous prick, but frankly, it's not my fucking cup of tea. I'd rather be sailing down a river or hiring a motorbike, or I don't know, be, as I was the other day, and this is genuinely true, on the back of a bus where someone removed a small goat so I could sit down. I'd rather that. There's not a sniff of a goat round here, apart from in the slightly anglicised curry that's available in that restaurant. So, all I'm saying is, whilst this is brilliant and I'm glad it exists, and I'm sure if you're retired and you're English and you want an excellent, safe holiday that's really cheap, this is exactly the place for you. It's not really the place for me. So I'm very excited to get out of here tomorrow. In the meantime, I'll walk back into the restaurant and give you a little slice of the drumming. I was also, one of the other reasons I'm probably a bit pissed off is because it's probably worth mentioning, I am trying to vlog this for the first time ever. I've never done any vlogging before. And so I've got a GoPro on a selfie stick. which I've whopped out occasionally and made reasonable films so far. But I just, while I don't mind doing it in some, remote town where they've barely seen idiots like me, the last thing I want to do is here because I feel like I'm worse than Dave the accountant. So I'm struggling. I'm struggling mentally with this place because it's great for what it is. It's just not what I wanted, and it happens to be halfway through this travelling trip. You get the idea. I think I'll finish the rant. I'll walk into the restaurant, you're going to hear some drumming. Just bear in mind they are wearing leopard trousers. Not original leopard skin, I think that would be inappropriate. So it's cloth. Table 9, she says. She's from Birmingham. It was time to get out of there. I jumped in a taxi and got chatting. He told me he wanted to change his life. He was a bit bored, so I told him he should work in a cheese factory. He told me he'd already done that before in Wisconsin. I did not see that coming. What was life like in the Gambia? Okay, so you've got 2 kids.
Yep.
You're 40.
I'm 40, yep.
You live in the Gambia.
Yep.
Do you like the Gambia?
Not really.
No.
Not really. I mean, I love the Gambia. It's my country.
Yeah.
But I don't like so many things in the Gambia.
What don't you like in the Gambia?
I don't like the government. I don't like people's attitude towards work.
Yeah.
I don't like people's attitude towards development in general. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. The corruption and the selfishness. Nobody care about the country. Everybody just care about themselves. You know what I'm saying?
Do you think that's a problem in the Gambia? Do you think that too many people care about themselves?
Yeah, of course.
But that's understandable. You care about yourself.
I do, but I care about other stuff too.
Yeah.
I care about the country. I care about other people.
Yeah.
Not a whole lot of people think like that.
But then you lived in Wisconsin and works in a cheese factory.
Yeah.
America's very self-centered.
Yeah, but they are very nationalist too. They love their country.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you love your country.
They stand by their country.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't stand by our country.
Oh, I think I see your point. So you're saying that you want your country to be better. It's not just about you.
No, it's not just about me.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
It's not just about me. We think about our kids, their future,
Yeah.
We have to make the country better, leave it in a better position for them,
Yeah,
Exactly.
Well, good for you. Yeah, absolutely,
Yeah.
you do.
That's the thing,
It's a healthier approach to the world. We drove on through the night, down dusty streets, lit only by moonlight. Him ranting, me mostly listening, thinking it felt like every London taxi I'd ever been in. But when this guy talks about corruption, it really did outdo British political corruption. And that includes the MP who claimed expenses for a fucking duck pond. Why were all the tourists so old? The average age was about 1,000. Why?
Yeah, but most of the tourists that come here are retirees. The young people don't come here. It's retirees, old people.
Why is it only old people that come to Gambia then?
Exactly.
Do you know why that is?
Yeah, I have an idea. Because it's expensive. People have to save to come here.
Right. Because the flights are expensive.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So most people at their working age can make holiday trip.
Yeah. Maybe it's good that you don't have young people because young British people are a pain in the arse. They just drink and get naked and shout. You don't want those people. You want that. You want the old retired
the
ones.
Old people, they are nice people.
Exactly. And they're calm and they're wise and they're tranquil.
Yeah, exactly. They're tranquil. They're easier to deal with.
I went to bed that night, desperate to get a bit crazy in the morning and to get away from the tourists. So I rented the biggest motorbike I could find, which was a semi-automatic hairdryer, and took on the road to explore the Gambia. By the way, if I haven't mentioned this, the Gambia is the legal name of the Gambia. There is only one other the country. And I'll let you know at the end of the podcast what it is. What's the name of the other the country? And it's it begins with B. I can't tell you more than that or I'll be giving it away. I've just rented a moped. It's not for the weak-hearted. And I'm driving south of the river in Gambia, along the river, to go and look at a nature reserve. And I'm pretty close to the airport. All right, mate. And everyone says hello to you all the time. It's brilliant. It's so friendly. Anyway, I'm just stopped at a restaurant near Banjul International Airport. And there's a guy in here from Yorkshire who lives here. And he's been telling me a little bit about his life when he does live here for about 6 months of the year. So let's find out a little bit more about life in Gambia. All right, so this is fascinating. So you live here, you bought an acre of land. Remind me how much that was?
16,000. Well, the house and the land, 16,000.
16 grand for the house and the land.
You paid the brickies £30 a month.
£30 a month?
Yes, that was a good wage for them.
And what year was this?
3 years ago.
£30 a month?
Yes.
So your average brickie is on less than £10 a week?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I'll show you my house.
Yeah, I'd love to see it. Oh, it's nice. What's going on the stairs there?
Right, I've got a sun deck on top.
Oh, I see.
I've got a sun deck on top and a beer fridge, and that's where the chief inspector comes and sits up there and has on an evening.
Do you speak any Wolof?
I can understand it, yes.
Can you?
Yeah, I can understand it quite a bit.
Do most people around here speak Wolof?
I love it.
Yeah.
Or Mendinka.
All Mendinka, yeah. Do you speak any Mendinka?
I can understand little bits of it.
Yeah.
No, I can't speak it, but I can listen. And I know what they're talking about.
Yeah. So what was it that got you about this place? Obviously you came years and years and years ago.
My wife died in 2000. And in 2005, my son said to me, Dad, you're not going out, you're not going on holiday now, you're not doing this, you're not doing that. There's all that money sat in bank.
Yeah.
And
From the company that you
I
sold.
sold it for 1.2 million, retired.
Yeah.
And he said, there's all that money. And he says, you can't even spend interest. Go and do something. I said, oh, no. I said, if your mum were here, then yeah, we'd go around the world, we'd do anything. But anyway, for my birthday, he brought me a ticket to come to Gambia, a fortnight's holiday, everything's paid for in Banjul, in Gambia. Africa?
Had you never been to Africa at this
No.
point?
I said, no. I said, I'm not going to bloody Africa. I said, I might get eaten with a lion or a croc.
That's so what everyone says about Africa, yeah. Do you live here in that 3-bedroom house on your own?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a gardener, I've got a cleaner, I've got a girl that comes and does washing and ironing.
Is the gardener on site?
Yeah.
He lives there?
He lives next door.
Did you build him a little house?
No, I built him a place. I built a school at the end of my compound. I've got 43 kids in a school and they go there free. I pay teachers.
Do you?
Yeah.
Good for you, man.
Kids.
This is quite a step from someone that didn't want to leave the house. So
That's
what
why I love the place.
what your son did
Yeah.
changed your life, didn't
Yeah,
it?
it did. I'd have been dead now, honestly.
Why'd you say that?
Because I'd have vegetated at home.
You just didn't have enough to live for.
I wasn't bothered with it. I went. My son used to come round and bring me something to eat. Dad, what you had to eat today? Well, no, and I'll have a sandwich later, and all. Honestly.
Just plodding along, weren't you? That's really good that he had the foresight to try that. Had he been to Gambia before?
No, they went into travel agents and said, I want somewhere for my dad. He's on his own, and I want him to enjoy himself. I want him to sightsee and all that. We've just a place, you know. Thomas Cook it.
Thomas Cook?
Yeah.
Well, you wouldn't be doing that now, would you?
Now, for the last 6 years, Thomas Cook have sponsored me to come over here
Because of the school?
because I work with the Princess Trust.
Right.
Oh, I've been all over Gambia putting clean water systems in schools.
Ah, right.
Put a borehole in, I put a pump in and a solar panel on the roof, and the kids call me Mr. Magic because they can turn a tap and get water out of it.
Yeah.
It's magic. See? That's magic. Kids were climbing, what they did, they go chop a tree down, put the tree down the well and climb down the tree to get the water and climb back up it for the school and put it in a trough.
Right.
We put some stainless steel pipe work in and a pump and what have you, and they had a tap inside school.
Yeah.
Same trough, but then they got them little water drinkers, you know, you just press the water.
So who pays for that? Is that you? Yeah.
I buy it from, well, I have them shipped over from England. 24 volt.
So I think there's a real lesson in this. You're alive because you've got a purpose and you're busy
Yeah.
and you're clearly happy.
Yeah, oh,
And all of that is because you're helping other people.
yeah.
You've created your own purpose, haven't you?
Well, yeah. It upsets me sometimes because you can't help everyone. There's that many that need it.
For the 6 months that you go home now, or travel,
Yeah.
how do you feel about leaving your place? I presume the gardener's there
Security.
and you have to pay them, do you?
Bag of rice,
Really?
honestly. That's much.
And a place to stay, obviously.
Yeah.
And they're there, 24/7.
I've got a dog on site as well, tiger. A white man walks in, they'll fuss him. A black man walks in, he'll...
You've got a racist dog.
I have.
Well, good for you for doing all that work. Your wife would be proud of you. Hey, I'm on a motorbike and I'm travelling south of the Gambia River. But the problem is the rental motorbike that I've got, which is a 120cc little pootler, a little dinky toy of a motorbike. But it's a motorbike, apparently. It looks a bit like a moped. But the problem is, yeah, it keeps running out of petrol because the gap between petrol stations is really big. So every time I'm just about to run out, I stop at a village and ask. And in this case, the guy said, yeah, I'll go and get you some. And he's rode off on his motorbike. I'm at the side of the road. He's gone to get some petrol. And then we'll fill mine up and off we go. So it's not like the biggest deal ever. But I probably should have brought a gas canister with me. Well, let's go and talk to these guys under the trees, away from the 35-degree heat, and see what they've got to say. How you doing, boys? We've got the tea, we've got the nuts. What else? Is that a donkey? No, you're all good. You're all good. Good music.
Yeah,
So baobab juice and green tea.
Yeah, green tea. And they give it to the bus lady also. You have a
Whoa,
test.
nice.
Sorry, it's hot. Then easy, it's hot.
Sweet.
What?
Really sweet. So much sugar.
No sugar.
There's loads of sugar in there. There's 10 spoons of sugar in that thing.
No.
Wow. Baobab juice and green tea.
Have it, yes.
It's actually
bus
quite
lady,
nice.
I am Sam.
Hi, Sam. Good
Yeah,
to see you.
living in this village.
Where's your house? Oh, okay. Just behind the donkeys. And what's your normal life, Sam? What do? You got a job here?
Yeah, my job is bakery.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, I do bakery in my home. You know, my home is so far.
So you make bread? You're the bread man.
Yeah.
Sam the bread man.
Yeah. Yeah, if you don't mind, I can take you just, you see the compound, just look down there before the man come. I start to work in the morning, I take it to the shop for the customers.
Do you?
Yeah,
Really?
I bake it night, 8 o'clock. In the morning, I take it to the shop, the customer take it for breakfast. The following day in the morning also. In the evening, I start to work.
Yeah. Do you make French bread? Baguette? You make
Yeah.
it- yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, I love baguettes.
Yeah. So that's why I need to, if you see, just to go and see, you have, observe, you can have your idea, any idea what you have, you see it. I like it.
I bet you like it,
Yeah.
Sam. That's
Right.
good. That's a good
Yeah.
job. Can you make cakes?
Yeah.
What kind of cakes can you make?
I make cake with, with milk. This sweet, just like sweet breads, make milk, with sugar.
Are you married, Sam?
No, I'm not married.
Are you going to get married?
I want to marry. Because I want to make the development after I get married.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Make the development, then get married. Okay, Sam, I'm going to fill up this bike. Sam wants me to come to his bakery, and I'm not sure I really want to go because a bit short for time before the sun goes down. But here's the petrol, arrived by motorbike. Is that 1 litre?
Yeah, it's 1 liter.
Okay, cool. Thanks, man. Thanks, Sam. Appreciate that. That's a nice bike.
Yeah.
I like that bike.
Like this
It's
one.
a good bike.
Next time when you come, before you hire this one, you come here.
Yeah, you know what? Next time I might come here, give you some money and rent that.
Okay.
Be easier. It's more fun than this one. I want this bad boy. Look at this little thing.
Yeah, it's little, but it's fast.
It does the job. It does 80 kilometres an hour.
Yeah.
Oh. More concrete blocks in the middle of the road. Thanks, boys. See you next time. I drove off into the hot sun, safe in the knowledge that I would inevitably run out of petrol again fairly soon. But knowing fully well I could get a bottle of petrol from some random stranger at the side of the road, while his friends would give me green tea and baobab juice. It was becoming hard to understand how people could be so friendly in a country so corrupt. Later that night, I met a Gambian guy over a beer in a little town full of goats and dusty, battered vegetable stalls. When I say dusty, battered vegetable stalls, I don't mean like the vegetables were battered and happened to be in a dusty stall. Let's try that again. In loads of dusty, battered stalls selling vegetables, in case there was any confusion. So does that mean that Gambia now has got a president that is outstaying his welcome? Yeah.
So he has completely broken all the promises.
Well, historically, this is the beginning of where stuff goes really wrong.
And already people have died in his government. Police shot kids in Faraba. You pass the village when you're coming. Because they own their lands. We say the villagers own their lands. This is where their mums and the sisters go do their farming and everything else. And then suddenly the government just made a contract with this guy who is a contractor, and they said, right, you go to that village and you can do your sand or gravel stone mining. No, I have license to come and mine here. No, you don't. This is our place. This is where our parents or ourselves, this is where we get our food from. And then they go back to government, negotiations, and then finally the guy came back with his machinery, starts digging, and the kid said, right, maybe 15,000 kids, all with catapult or slingshots.
Fucking hell.
And then sticks, start firebombing the big machines. And then the military came. Not the military, the police. They said they were overpowered by the kids, so they had no choice. So they fired live rounds. If you want to control a crowd of kids, you don't send 15 police officers.
Certainly don't use open firing.
You know, they use.
So, and they killed those kids,
They
though?
killed 3 or 4 of them.
Are they really?
Yeah, and there was a big commotion, and then civilians were arrested, police officers were arrested, and next minute the government says, you know what, we'll negotiate. We'll let you all free for this and this and this reason. Boom, gone, finito. Eating $47,000 a month That's his food.
The president,
Yeah.
$47,000.
Sleeping on TV every time.
God, how African is that? Chat to camera where he goes on so long he bores himself.
Yeah, exactly. Stuff like that. So,
Oh, it's such a shame that history repeats itself.
so this is a government that's really failed.
We've got a country that's got a president here that is outstaying his welcome, that's opened firing on protesters.
Beaten them up.
What do you think is going to happen?
People are going to come out. Nobody's scared anymore. People are not scared anymore. If I want to say something, they'll come out. You arrest them, you arrest them. They'll come out. You can't arrest the whole country. It's democracy now. That's what they say. You know.
Do you think it is a democracy?
When he first came, it felt like that.
Yeah.
And then gradually, people are seeing it. Yeah. You know, if I give you a job as a minister, I shouldn't be standing there and dictating what you should be telling people. Vinny, push Vinny aside. I'll deal with the situation.
Yeah.
Dictate.
Yeah.
Dictate. No, sometimes it's crazy. African presidents?
So if I was to ask you, on a scale of 1 to 10, how corrupt is the Gambia now, today, what would you say?
I'll give it a 10.
You'd give it a 10?
Trust me.
But I've been driving a motorbike around for days and I've seen no problems. Riding a motorbike in the sunshine, it feels like the most wonderfully open, happy country. Is that because I'm a white guy?
That's why when you stop, they greet you to see who you are. When you speak their local language, he's one of us. So every time I get stopped sometimes, it's like, oh, so what is good for us today? I'll have some smoke for you. Yeah.
So how much is a policeman or a policewoman paid?
Every month. For £38 or £40 a month.
A policeman is
Yes.
paid
£40.
38,
Say 40.
let's say 40, let's go mental.
£40 a month.
£40.
Yeah. It doesn't matter how old you are.
A month.
You could be there for 50 years. I go fishing and I catch 2 big fish. And I make 6 times the amount they're paying the police in 2 hours.
In 2 hours, you make 6 times what a policeman makes in a month
Exactly.
because you caught some fish.
I caught massive fish and I called a fishmonger from the market. He comes to my place. He weighs the fish. I sell him for $250 a kilo. So let's say my fish was 22 kilos. I get 2 or 3 of that. Always.
So, like, how the fuck are you going to stamp out corruption if you're paying your police £40 a month?
Yeah. That's the issue here.
You can't do it, can you?
No.
Of course they're asking you.
And then,
I mean, in a way, you must feel okay paying, don't you?
No, I feel okay giving them that. Anyway.
Yeah.
Sometimes I tell you, this is me traveling all the time on this road. I feel them. So I keep money separate. Even if you don't ask, I can see in your eyes that you know what, you're just there but you don't want this job. So I just give out 100 and they smile when I do that. You know.
Well, that's fascinating. I think that's proved exactly what is wrong. Because it's a beautiful country, people are fantastic, but you can't pay your police 40 quid a month.
Exactly.
You can't do it, lads. It's not going to work.
That's why if you need any documents with the immigration, bribery.
Yeah.
If you need to renew your driver's license, bribe. If you need to renew any documents, bribe.
It's a jungle out there. A few days and plenty of adventure later, I'd followed the mighty Gambia River and looked at the mangrove swamps that it had to offer. I'd seen monkeys swinging from tree to tree, some scary crocodiles. I'd attempted to climb the vines like Tarzan in the jungle before realising I was a middle-aged man. And I'd taken a tour of a particular park where I learnt there are mangrove trees that actually sweat salt. Fact. I headed back to Senegal because I was flying out of the extremely inconveniently located Dakar airport. On my very last night, I stopped at a little town called Toubacouta, which I could never pronounce, as you're about to find out, and just reflected on what the entire trip was like and what it had all meant to me. Hey there. So, another day, actually, another night now, as I contemplate the Gambia. What a place that was. I've only been to not even a quarter of the African countries. There's more than 50. And the Gambia is without doubt one of my favourites, if not my favourite. It doesn't have the animals that you would expect to find in Tanzania. Gambia's got pretty much everything you could want from an African experience. I personally, and I have to highlight this point intensely, I personally way prefer it to Senegal. I just really like it because I can talk to people. So I can learn a lot more about the country because I speak English, and in Gambia they speak English. It really is that simple. Whereas in Senegal, they speak French, and everyone is equally as friendly and desperate for chat, but it just doesn't go anywhere because I just can't. Wandering around the Gambia, I hired a motorbike and drove about, and I was absolutely awestruck by its beauty. As previously mentioned many times, excuse the repetition, hopefully you're flattered by the authenticity. It's a river, that's what it is. It's a bloody big river country, and that river is spectacularly beautiful. Throw in there all the usual trimmings of extremely gorgeous music floating through somewhat compromised and broken speakers, and all the usual madness. Incredible friendliness and some really different landscapes actually. On the north bank of the Gambia, the far less populated towns, driving a motorbike through there, I really didn't see much apart from big sweeping landscapes on either side, interrupted occasionally by a tiny little village with just a few kids running around and a well and not much going on. But it was that sort of sense of space that I didn't expect, because I'd read one of the most populated African countries per square kilometre, so I was expecting sort of, you know, people peering out from behind every possible tree, and it really wasn't like that. It was nothing like that at all actually. It was just a huge open space, 35-degree beaming heat, me, a motorbike and a big smile on my face, and then occasionally just stop, and everyone wants to know where you're from and what you're up to, and they're really helpful as well. They're desperate to jump in, they're very patriotic about their country. I did stop in a restaurant, and I had a very questionable piece of fish which is still rumbling away down below. Still not sure that was the best idea. I did look at it, or what was left of it. I think it had already been half eaten when it served up on top of the rice, and it did look a bit dodge, but I thought, when in Africa, give it a shot. Just as well I had the old wet ones ready to go, because it was well, you don't need the graphic nature of this, but let's just say I became very accustomed with the feeling of porcelain on my bottom. I chatted to a guy in that restaurant, and he told me about the Gambia, and I didn't really want to stick a microphone in his face because it's a bit rude, but he happened to be an internationally well-travelled man who had come back having done an economics masters in Turkey. He spoke 5 languages, and here he was in this dingy roadside cafe eating the same fish as me, although dare I say he probably hasn't been seeing so much of the inside of a bathroom. I think he's more used to it than I am. And I talked to him about the Gambia, and I'll tell you what he said. So this is not politically motivated from my point, because I really don't know much about it, but I'm really interested in what he said. In his opinion, things were going backward. And then he painted this classic Africa story. So sad, but so repetitious in so many of these African countries. In comes a guy that came in after it was released, the shackles had been released of the British. In comes a guy called Dorda Jawara for nearly 25 years. Yes, I am adding this bit in the studio afterwards. I looked for a bag of crickets to keep it consistent, but I couldn't find any. So here I am, cricketless in a studio. But I thought it was important to get this bit of history right, so I'm going to do it briefly. In comes Jawara, right? Dorda Jawara, and he was in for 25 years. And he was quite corrupt, but not as bad as most African leaders in those days. So that guy was around from independence to like late 90s, And then in the late 90s, I think it was 1996, a guy called Jammeh came in. Jammeh. Here's some of the highlights of Jammeh. And Jammeh was around from 1996 to 2017. Okay, so a good slog of time. Jammeh told journalists to obey his government or go to hell. He said that he allowed too much freedom of expression and proved this by firebombing a radio station that didn't like him. Jammeh claimed he could cure HIV and AIDS with natural herbs. He said he would introduce legislation that would set laws against homosexuals that would be stricter than those of Iran, and he would cut off the head of any gay or lesbian person, which he called vermin, discovered in the country. In March 2009, Amnesty International reported that up to 1,000 Gambians had been abducted by government-sponsored witch doctors on charges of witchcraft. Witchcraft? So they're witch hunting in 2009. Those people were taken to government detention centres where they were forced to drink poisonous hallucinogenic substances. Jammeh stole $11.4 million from the state's treasury and used a cargo plane to ship out his luxury vehicles during his last weeks in power. Jammeh is accused of having stolen millions of dollars from the country's coffers to fund a life of luxury. After leaving office, his assets were frozen by many countries and he went into exile. In addition to charges of corruption and human rights violations, he is also accused of having raped a number of women. He now lives in exile in Equatorial Guinea in a mansion. Most of his decisions were down to religious beliefs. Hurrah, religion. What a prick. Now, since then, so that was up until 2017, this dodgy bastard Jammeh has since run off to Equatorial Guinea, where I think the president there was probably mates with him. So I should assume he just gave a wad of money to someone and said, make sure no one shoots me. Is he happy? I very much doubt it. Since then, since 2017, we've had this guy, Adama Barrow, right? And he's the guy that said he would only be in power for 3 years. Now he thinks he'll do 5 years, and that's upset some people because he's broken a promise. Yeah, some African leaders treat being in power like a snooze button. So, where was I? Moat looks after his government buddies, and corruption is rife. And corruption is rising in the Gambia, which is not what a country needs. And of course, you're always going to have corruption when you pay your police $45 a month. That's just implicit. They have to be corrupt because they can't afford to live. I asked him the question, surely with your masters you could go and live in New York and make sure you could earn a lot of money and send it home like everyone else does. There's a brain drain here, of course. Everyone leaves and ends up sending money home. And he said, I could do that. He said 5 to 10% of Gambians live abroad and send money home. And if you drive through any of the villages here, you'll see nothing but money transfer places, you know, Western Union, money transfer and so on. And of course, all that money is coming back from all over the world to here. But he said, just to give you a quick wrap up on his amazing wisdom, I really like this guy, he said that it shouldn't be this way. This could be a bit of a breadbasket of Africa. After all, it's all flat, and underneath you only have to drill about 20 metres and there's massive aquifers of water. You can pop up a well anywhere, and if you can pop up a well anywhere, then you can get through the dry season. So you can plant anything you want. And the fact that in the Gambia, nearly every single bag of rice comes from China and most of their vegetables are imported, it's absolutely idiotic. So, president's a bit wonky, looking after himself, looking after his mates, and unfortunately not giving the money to the masses and not ploughing it into, pardon the pun, ploughing it into agriculture and making sure that the country is self-sufficient and indeed even, let's be honest, to a point where it could be exporting. So yeah, that's what he said. And so then I cried a bit. It's a bit miserable, isn't it, really? It's such a beautiful country and I'm so immediately attached to it that I was quite upset to hear that. But yeah, I didn't cry, but I was I don't know, man. It's sad when you hear someone say, I think my country's going downhill, but I'm here to try and make it better. But then it got me thinking, being that it's only about £1,500, about, I don't know, $1,800 to drill a well, maybe that's not such a bad idea. I've been doing these podcasts for a long time, so over the next couple of years I'd really like to get involved in a water project in Africa. So watch this space. So a little bit sad, but I hope, and he certainly hopes, that this will be proved wrong. There's an election next year in the Gambia. He will be there at the polling station, and maybe there'll be a new president who for once bucks the trend in African countries, doesn't want to necessarily entirely look after himself and his buddies and actually thinks about the people. This systemic problem is something that Africa's found itself in a cycle with. There are exceptions, but unfortunately there are slightly fewer and further between than everyone on this beautiful continent would like. So there you are. Now then, all that was actually earlier. Now I'm back in Senegal because I've got to fly out of Dakar. I'm walking down a dusty village called Tombouctou. No, I've messed it up again. Oh, I had it earlier. Balls. Tombouctou. No, I've only had one beer. Tombouctou. I'll ask this guy. Tombouctou, I think it is. There's a guy on a moped there. There's a guy on a bicycle. Let's ask this guy. Hey, ça va?
My friend,
How do you say this town?
Toubacouta.
Tombouctou. I keep getting it wrong.
You okay?
Yeah, good.
Where are you from?
England.
Smoke marijuana? Me, I business marijuana.
I don't smoke marijuana, but
This
I
my-
appreciate
this
the
my
offer.
job. Yeah, this is my job. You have
Oh, that's your job, isn't it?
best, yeah. See,
Oh.
yeah.
No, I'm not a big guy on the old weed. Doesn't work for me.
But I try English, quoi. France, tu parles français?
No.
Moi, I try English.
Your English is good.
You try. In France, you speak very well. My English, you try a little bit.
No, I only like alcohol.
Okay?
I like je t'aime alcohol.
Alcohol, no marijuana.
Oui, no marijuana.
Yeah.
But thanks for the offer.
Yeah, okay, no problem.
Tombouctou.
Thank you. Okay, Toubacouta.
Oh, I've done it again.
Thank you.
Thank you. Tombouctou. Okay, I'm getting it. Tombouctou. That's where I am. I mean, the fact that he smokes marijuana and he knows it, I think he lives here though. That's quite rare actually in Senegal. That's quite a high prison sentence for dealing marijuana, but I think he knows I'm not a policeman. It's weird actually, you see these little pockets of marijuana smoking. Like, ultimately it's quite frowned upon because obviously it's a Muslim country, and although you can get a bar, there's a couple of bars in this little dusty town, there's very few, there's very few weed outlets. There's an enormous lack of weed outlets. Booze, on the other hand, is quite readily available. It is a Muslim country, you can probably hear the mosque in the background kicking out one of its tunes. I'm probably going to find a bar soon. I've actually already walked past one, but I was enjoying this conversation so much with you that I thought I'd keep walking. So I'm going to do a loop round and go back to it, past a giant baobab tree. Oh, happy days. Something absolutely magical about walking around at 11 p.m. or whatever it is, with shorts and a t-shirt on and feeling nothing but perfect. The temperature is exquisite. Oh, I've just found another bar. Did you have a look at that? There's a lot of big tour buses outside it, which makes me think this one's going to be a bit touristy. Let's go in and have a look. I think everyone's gone to bed. Oh, I can see a bar in the distance. Let's give this a go. You'll think right now that I'm walking on gravel. You'd be forgiven. I always think that. And then I look down. The weirdest thing, just like everything else that's weird around here, these are seashells. Thousands and thousands of seashells near a mangrove swamp. And they farm oysters and clams, and once they've done it they just use the shells as gravel. Here we go. Hello. Could I have a flag, please? Flag. Wait. One. Wait. S'il vous plaît. Okay, have a beer. So, I wanted to use this opportunity to talk about those predetermined notions of Africa. A lot of people think it's dangerous. And I'm sure it can be. I mean, obviously in South Africa it definitely is. But up here in West Africa, as long as you're nowhere near any Boko Haram, and I'm glad to say there's none around here, I think it's extremely unlikely you're going to have a problem. Please don't think Africa is unsafe. Please. I mean, I'm not a complete moron. Debatable. But I'm wandering around at 11 o'clock with a bottle of beer in the middle of a dusty town that I've never heard of in Senegal, which I can barely pronounce, called Tubacuta. Yes, I did it. And I know I'll be fine. I really do. And you could say, well, I'm sure you're being naive. You've got no idea. If you've never been there, there'll be some people hidden behind a tree. No, I really don't think so. It's just cool. And I have to say the same with the Gambia as well. It's been so hospitable, and people have gone out of their way to be not only hospitable but actually cautious on my behalf. For example, the other day I was on my motorbike and I had to put my motorbike on a ferry, and that ferry went across a bay for about half an hour or so. I was very conscious of all my belongings, but I didn't want to take them off the bike. I walked 5 or 6 feet from the bike, and a guy on a motorbike next to mine said, "It's fine that you leave your bike, but please, can you just do up that zip on your bag? It's making me nervous." You know? And I don't think anything was going to happen, but like, he really looked out for me, and that story has repeated itself so many times. So I think the media, I mean, first of all, the media has a problem because it doesn't talk about Africa, all of its foibles, all of its cock-ups, all of its messes, and then millions, right? It doesn't talk about them. You never hear about anything unless there's a car bomb in like Tunisia in a tourist resort, and then it matters because white people got hurt. And the whole vapid, vacant news media has no interest in Africa. I think it's easy to run away with the fact that because you don't hear about it, and because occasionally you might hear some horror story from there, or a civil war or a genocide, which, yes, they have happened, you think, oh, Africa's unsafe and bonkers, isn't it? And it's the fear of the unknown. It's actually, weirdly, it's the same thing they use in horror movies, the fear of the unknown. It was Jaws, the first horror movie, when they sort of got behind the fact that realising that you couldn't see something is actually petrifyingly scary. And if you look at any modern day horror movie, the actual subject of the horror very rarely makes an appearance in the first half, if at all. And that's how the human psyche works. It's easy to think that Africa is worryingly dangerous. And I'm sure that if I was having this conversation in the Democratic Republic of Congo, I would be saying something different. But from every single African country I've been to, it's been great. And I haven't had any problems. And that's quite typical, really. So, maybe you should come here. I mean, after all, where are you going to get winter sunshine that's 35 degrees, get a beer for just over €1, and enjoy a perfectly reasonable hotel with clean sheets and a fan and air conditioning if you want it, for €25, €30 max. And if you really want it, you can go down the road and pay double that and have a swimming pool with absolutely all of the trimmings. Having said that, the dogs do freak you out a bit. One just came running at me. This one hasn't got a collar. Oh, he's humping my leg. Right, that's weird. Go away. No, mate. Oh, fuck off. No, you're humping my leg. You're weird. No, too weird. Now there's another one. Okay. Oh, God. Petrol. That's the perfect metaphor for Africa. Just when you're telling someone that it's perfectly safe, along comes something that scares the shit out of you that turns out to be perfectly reasonable. book yourself a trip. Go somewhere weird. Why not? Hopefully this has inspired you a little bit. The world is wonderful, and it seems foolish to visit the same place twice when there's 190 countries, most of which are as open and generous and loving and warm and peaceful as the Gambia and Senegal. Probably not North Korea. You have been listening to a Vinnie White's podcast. In a minute, I will reveal which other country in the world, other than the Gambia, is legally titled with the as a prefix. And by the way, it's not the Netherlands. It begins with B. The B. What is it? I will let you know in a moment. First, though, a few mentions. If you do want some audio production or a podcast made, then get in touch. I can help. I have a website and a company that's dedicated to all kinds of audio production and making podcasts. If you're interested, no matter where you are in the world, you can go to wemakepodcasts.com. That's wemakepodcasts.uk. If you do live in the UK and you want some Adobe software training, go to adobe.london. That's somewhere you can set yourself up to learn pretty much anything from Audition to Photoshop to InDesign to Illustrator, maybe even some Premiere. All of that can be taught into your brainbox. And if you live in Canada and you want Adobe training, then go to adobetrainingtoronto.com. And I think that's it. Yeah. Book yourself a trip, get out there, get amongst it, shake a leg, and I will leave you with one of my favourite conversations. Short, sweet and simple. Vinny.
Vinny.
What's your name?
My name is Lemon.
Your name is Lemon?
Lemon, yes.
Your name is Lemon?
Lemon.
That is a great name.
Lemon, yeah.
I've never met a lemon before.
Lemon is the first name, huh?
Ah. Lemon. Good night. This was mixed and produced in the UK by We Make Podcasts. For more information, go to wemakepodcasts.uk. The Bahamas. Yeah.